Perfect. Topic number 1 for today is COVID moving the market. So there's all different types of reasons why people move. And maybe COVID is one of those reasons. So what we have here is an article that was recently published on Inman, so we want to give them proper credit. And I kind of want to talk through this, so maybe we'll pull that up here real quick, and then we'll start to scroll through it just a little bit. But the headline is 20% of people moved this year did so to avoid catching COVID.
Wow. To avoid catching it.
Yes.
See, I would have thought differently.
You would have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that's part of it, but I was under the impression that so many people were moving because they could work from home, and they were finding different places of interest to live, because it didn't matter anymore.
Okay. So let's discuss it from both angles.
Yeah.
So the first angle, according to this year, is that 28% of the people, right, are moving to not get COVID. And I think that does start to explain a little bit. So you've been in like Bozeman, Montana recently, where we're now newly licensed. And then you were also in Boise, Idaho, right? And both of those places are spread out just a little bit more, right, than we are here. And in doing so, maybe people feel a little bit better about that. Maybe they're moving from a more urban place to a more suburban, and in those cases, possibly rural or extremely rural settings where they can just kind of focus on what they want to do each day.
Yeah.
But I think it really does dovetail into what you were saying, is that they can home office or work from kind of anywhere, so to speak. So talk about that for just a little bit.
Well, I mean, we've experienced people able to move out in different areas so they can have more space, and I think it is due to COVID. But whether it's to avoid catching COVID, I'm not sure. But I do feel that we've seen a lot of people looking for different things like land. All of us here live in the suburbs, and all of the homes are so close together. Everybody is in such close proximity, and there's a desire now that people want to get out and be able to have a little space, and have things they didn't normally have before. And they have the flexibility.
Yeah, so maybe if we kind of go back and just kind of show on us here for just a second, then what we'll do is discuss this just a little bit more. But I think what people are doing is moving and changing their density by one factor. So what I kind of mean here is if they live in an urban setting, right, like an apartment or a condo in a high density, think city, right? Think about something like that. Then their desire and comfort level is to move one density to a slightly lower density, which might be to a suburban, so they're more comfortable. And then if they're living in a suburban area, then maybe they want a lower density than that, which is kind of like with land or slightly more rural.
Yeah.
And then if they're rural, they want to just get even more so. And kind of have something there. So that's what I kind of think is going on here. But what you were saying is also something super interesting. And that is that people have the option now on where to work because it's dramatically changed. Like overnight, it went to, you need to come in the office and you need to do this, and there's all these things that need to happen. And if you're going to be a leader, you have to do this. And now all of a sudden, it's like not traveling anymore, right? We had so many friends that used to travel all the time for work.
Yeah.
And they would travel every Monday and they'd come home on Friday and they might travel 20, 30, 50 trips a year for business.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden those numbers, we look at it and they're at like zero for business trips. And a lot of companies, like maybe Microsoft, has canceled all of their business travel, and they were like one of the ones to do it super early. Their conferences and travel and like everything, right? In person. For a very long time. Yeah. So now you look at that, and what people were doing there, like you're saying, is taking the option and saying, well, if we can home office and I can be on the computer kind of like this, then why would I do this where I currently am? And maybe you went from one person home officing or 0 to 1 or 2 in your family, including maybe the kids are home.
Yeah, so you need something a little bit bigger.
If not bigger, at least different.
Yeah.
Right? More intentional and more purposeful
and when you're
for what this is.
all the time, and everyone's home all the time, then yes, your needs have changed, so your housing must change. Now, I think we can't forget that there's a lot of people who had to move because they may have lost a job. And that's, that's another aspect of it. And, that's very unfortunate. I hate hearing stories like that. So I have heard of people moving back home, with their families, because of that as well. So, that could be a factor. Now you have a child or, an adult child that's come back home because they don't have a job, and now it's cramped again, right? So, yeah, a lot of movement going on. We did have one referral from a doctor in New York that said, I've got to get out of here. It's crazy. And that was the only instance that I heard that I've got to get out of here. COVID is so bad here, and I have little kids, and there's a lot of opportunity for the medical field in the Dallas area. So, I'm considering moving there, but they ended up not. But that was the only one that I heard to escape COVID.
Okay. Now, when they move, though, it's okay. So that's possible. So you're saying you saying no on this article. You're saying 28% don't.
Inman is very. They know their stuff, and they have a lot of great writers and great information. But just based on what my personal experience has been.
Okay. Very good. So Shauna says no. I say maybe. I say maybe, and it's not necessarily about catching it, but it's about maybe lessening your chances or realizing that it's going to be around for longer and the effect. So maybe the question was posed in such a way. Did COVID have some thing to do with why you moved?
Now.
And then, so it's all about the question and then the tagline and how it's reported.
It is. And, we think about if you had elderly parents we had a client that had their father in a assisted living facility, and they moved him out and moved him back, to live with them. So
I had somebody who I was talking with the other day. And they told me, Mike, my 38-year-old son is moving back in because he just had a recent job change, went from having a job to not having a job, and was moving in with them. So he has a 38-year-old son, so that kind of explains what his age is, and the son was moving in. Now, this person has a way he likes to do things as well. And he was a little nervous about how this was going to go. And the reference was made to something like, house guests are like fish. I haven't read that one. Okay. No. After a few days, they begin to smell. And it's like, you just need to kind of move on from that. So, yeah, maybe it's stink. I don't know. Chat in if you know the exact phrase on this one. I think it's a popular phrase that a lot of people know. House guests are like fish because blank. Fill that one in for me and give me all the details there. Well, we'll see if anyone else has.
Yep.
Let us know.
So, just interesting.
Yes, it is. Let's consider this topic closed and move on to topic number 2, please.